Hey, Radio Bypass, we are back with a new video interview from someone that probably needs no introduction, a veteran of our music world. Definitely somebody you know, whether it's from Jafria, House of Lords, Quiet Riots, and many, many others. You've been on so many albums, but right now has a great new record out, Sheltering Sky, and it is Chuck Wright joining us on Radio Bypass today. Thanks for coming by, Chuck.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Nice to meet you. I know we have a lot of mutual friends, and I noticed on your website that there are more people on, in your collage that you have that I know that I don't know. So
yeah, that's
cool to finally get to work through this with you.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that we were able to get together too, and especially to talk about this. This record, we chatted a little bit last year, very little bit at our friend's wedding. And at that time, this was still kind of in the works, I think. Maybe you finished recording it, but it wasn't due to come out yet last year. But I could tell even then that I could see just in your facial expression, a real labor of love here. And then when I got to hear the record, I felt listening to it, and I've listened to it, many times, of course, seems like a very personal record to me. And the Chuck Wright that most of us know is in the hard rock, heavy metal world. And certainly some of this rock's hard, but there's a lot of different textures to this record. So I guess my first question is, am I on the right track here? Was this a very personal thing for you?
Yeah, actually, when I started recording songs, I didn't have an agenda to make a solo record. I just was writing music for the sake of the music and what I was feeling, and art for art's sake, so to speak. And the very first piece that I did, it's called Weight of Silence, was right when all the cities were closed down, everybody was shut away, and I'm looking at everything looking apocalyptic. And I wrote this song called Weight of Silence, and I put that out myself, and I edited together a video with it. And then Troy Laketta from Tesla reached out to me and loved the song and said, hey, it would sound great with drums on it. So I said, hey, go for it. He had a studio. And then a great guitar player here in town, jazz fusion guy named Alan Hines, same thing. And he did it, and I edited it together. So I have a second version of that song, and both versions are on the album.
Right, starting and ending.
Yeah, and right when the album came out, to my surprise, I had no idea, that song won Best Instrumental and Best Video at the Rock Music Alliance Awards. And it was presented by Tony Kaye, and I was up against Joe Satriani and John Five. I didn't even know I was nominated, and it's awesome to get an award for an instrumental song like that. There's vocals all over the album, but yeah, the album is very personal. The one song on there called "See You on the Other Side" I wrote as soon as I got the phone call about Frankie Benelli from Quiet Right, passing away, and it just brought back all the feelings of my mom and different people I've lost. Best friend, Pat Torpy, who's on 3 tracks actually on the album. And so I took that, I picked up the 12 string was right next to me, and I wrote that whole song in one thing, top to bottom. I had the chorus idea lyrically and melody. And then I went to somebody that Frankie had just been working with named August Young. He was doing this Led Zeppelin tribute thing called Mr. Jimmy. And it kind of has a Zeppelin feel to it, the song. So
it does.
Him, and he helped me flesh out the verses on it, and then I brought in a couple other guys from that project. And actually, I think there's 5 guitar players on that particular song. The solo is brilliant. It's by Jude Gold, who plays with Starship, Jefferson Starship, and just it's really deep. There's a lot. I have 41 guests on the record. And
yes,
because I have so many great friends.
Got just some of the list right here.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like I'm working on a song, and I go, who would be great for this? And then, I have this event called Ultimate Jam Night that I started in 2015, and we've had well over 2,000 professional musicians, and I've made so many friends over the years doing that. And when I was working on Army of Me, I go, who would be a great voice for this? And I thought about a female vocalist named Whitney Ty, who has done the thing, and her solo stuff is great. And I reached out to her, and I said, hey, what do you think about Bjork? You like it? She goes, oh my God, I would love to do that. We've become super close friends. She's a co-writer on one of the songs called Time Waits for No One. And she also, my newest release video, Ghost, Giving Up the Ghost, she's the singer on that as well. That's kind of, basically, I would think of, oh, you know who'd be great for this? And I'd say, hey, do you want to play on this? What do you think? And they all volunteered. Yeah, I would love to be a part of this. This is great. So that's very rewarding in itself right there. Just having that kind of respect for the music and for what I'm trying to do here.
Yes. Yeah,
Just
for sure.
Music. Like I said, it was just making music. That's why there's so many different styles, and there's no like, although it feels like it's like a concept record, really, when you listen to it from top to bottom, kind of has that feel to it, I think.
It does. And you know, and speaking of top to bottom, you know, the two versions of, as we mentioned, The Way to Silence, you've got, you know, it starts off the record and it ends the record. And there's slightly, you know, there's some differences, right, between the two.
Yeah, once it's more acoustic, and actually the flamenco guitar playing is by Ben Woods, who we just lost a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He had this kind of like, he would take heavy metal songs like Iron Maiden and they reinterpret them into flamenco songs. Heavy Mellow, he had a band called Heavy Mellow. Anyway,
gotcha.
Sorry, but yeah, I wanted to book in the album with that.
Well, that's what I was wondering, listening to it, you know, with those differences. I mean, is that kind of what you heard in your head? You sort of had ideas of hearing it both ways and decided to just...
Well, I thought they both had their own merit. I had people tell me that they liked, like Derek Sherinian, who's on the record from Dream Theater. He said, well, I kind of like the original version better. So, and another friend of mine said they like that. And I like them both. So
Same.
And they definitely feel different, but it kind of ties the whole record together. It's a bookend kind of vibe, which helps give it that conceptual feel.
Right.
And the way that song starts, it's kind of a Pink Floydian kind of thing, and then it gets into, with the acoustic guitars, it has a subtle flamenco feel to it, but it's really a rock, spacey kind of, you know, trip.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I would, like I say, I was just kind of curious if you had two ideas in your head with that music and said, I think I'll just go with both, or, you know, what was it intentional that you wanted to bookend the record, or...
No, that was a decision after I really wanted to have them both there and then make it all tie together. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I want to make sure we didn't miss this too. This album is being considered for a Grammy, right?
Well, yeah, I just found that out too. I'm up for consideration for a Grammy in the rock. Even though the records, it does rock. Don't get me wrong, it rocks hard on some spots, but it's all over the place. So I could have been also with a song called Cradle of the Sun. I could be in the country running too, because it's a country folk kind of song. But yeah, totally surprised. I had no idea, and I'm, like I said, I'm really proud of the record. I'm really proud of all the performances. Everybody brought their A game when they joined me on this record. So it was like, we couldn't all, because of the pandemic, we couldn't all be in a room at the same time. So it was like, I was going back and forth with guys, going, hey, try this. Well, hey, well, how about that? And, you know, until you kind of get it together. I produced it. I co-produced. There's 5 songs that I co-produced with my friend Tim Janssens, who's won awards as a film composer. So that kind of rubs off on some of the songs with the depth and things that were added to give it more depth, and orchestration, which he's amazing at, and things like that going on.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, that's pretty cool. When will you know if you make the ballot, or how does that work?
I mean, you know what? Just the fact that I'm even under consideration, that's good enough, you know?
Yeah.
I know the politics, and, you know, sure, I could hire like a company and they could go like knock on everybody's door that's a member of the Grammy Academy or whatever. But yeah, that's good. That's fine. I'm just surprised anyway. Very
good. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And then we talked about, you know, the record having all these different flavors. So let's talk a little bit about one that I know is also quite a big deal for you, and it is more in the rock vein that you might expect from Chuck Wright, which is Throwing Stones. You've been, I believe you put together a little bit of a benefit for all this terrible stuff going on in the Ukraine, and I think you've been pointing this song kind of toward that.
Well, that song, actually musically, it was compared to, if you can imagine, Primus and Stevie Wonder getting together. which is pretty.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it kind of, I really think it sums it up when you hear the way it starts and then the vocal.
Joe was great.
So the track, the basic track with Pat Torpey, the late Pat Torpey is the drummer, Lanny Cordola, who you might know from House of Lords,
right,
the rhythm guitar player, and myself. We would get together and record. Let me close the door. My bird's acting up. It's actually Keith Emerson's bird, but anyway.
There's got to be a story there, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely there is. It's a sad one, but anyway, and we would get together at Pat's studio and just record, song ideas or whatever. That's how Army of Me came about. Pat goes, "Oh, I really dig that John Bonham sample that Bjork did," and started playing it. So we kind of jammed through the song. I found these tracks. And I settled on 3 that I really felt needed to be finished. One of them being Throwing Stones, and I sent it to my friend Joe Retta, vocalist who people might know him from Sweet and Dio Disciples, TSO, and we did Heaven and Earth together, and we've been friends since then. And I said, "Hey, check out this track." He likes to work by himself. He doesn't want any input. So what he sent me blew me away. I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And I go, the concept, it's an anti-war thing. And this is before the Russian invasion. It was right before, right before it. He sent this to me right before the end of the year. And I was blown away. And he goes, "Okay, now I'll do it for real." But you know what? I kept mostly it's all the scratch that he did just to show me the idea, because the intention was so insane. I did end up doing a video for it, which you can find on YouTube, that does incorporate some war-oriented imagery in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the Ukraine situation, the timing on it. I go, "What are you, Nostradamus here? What's going on, Joe?" Anyway, I did with Ultimate Jam Night. One of the things we like to do is we'll do benefits for different things like the homeless here in LA, or just different things. We did something for the Pulse nightclub when that happened, and we actually had a family that had their home bombed, and they were relocated here to Los Angeles, and we had them come down, and the father actually spoke to the crowd, and we were raising money for the World Central Kitchen. His daughter, 7-year-old daughter, went up there and sang "We Are the World."
Oh, wow. It had to be emotional. Yeah.
Very much so. Not a dry eye in the house. It was pretty insane. We raised thousands of dollars for the World Central Kitchen for the refugees. And that all kind of ties together with the song Throwing Stones too, I guess. But basically raising awareness. It's just god awful what's going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought that was very admirable that you were pointing everything in that direction. That was pretty, I appreciate that when people care and do things like what you've done. So
we have a little bit, if you have a voice, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, musicians shouldn't get involved in politics, or they shouldn't get involved in world." But you know what? We could have reach. I know my reach is huge, but I can do what I can, right?
Sure. And as people, that's what we should all do, whatever we can.
Care,
and it doesn't have to be political. Everybody makes everything political. I think.
They try. We're a me kind of nation, It's unfortunately very myopic.
Yeah. I hear you.
What do I get out of it?
Right. Exactly.
It's the wrong attitude. Anyway.
It is. Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah. And that would, in my opinion, listening to the whole album, Throwing Stones probably is the most hardest rocking, I would say, out of the songs musically. But everything's just so good.
I guess Never Fails is pretty heavy.
Yeah, that is pretty heavy.
It's funky, and Jeff Scott Soda's vocal on it
is really good. Yeah.
And Scotty Hill from Skid Row did the solo on that. It's smoking.
Yeah.
So that was kind of heavy, but overall, it's a pretty kind of moody.
It is. There's just so much going on here, in my opinion. I was really impressed from the first listen on through the most recent listen. Tell me a little bit about Giving Up the Ghost. What were you? What inspired that?
Well, you know what? That's a song that I've actually held on to for a very long time. It's been you know, when you sit down and play guitar and you're noodling on song ideas, that's one that I've always had. And it felt really good to finally record that song. And it's basically, people, and myself included, tend to hold on to things that are no longer, you can't, you know, the person's gone, they're not in your life anymore, but you keep holding on to that, and it's keeping you from growing beyond, moving forward in your life. And I have a friend most recently that had a breakup with somebody who was 3 years past, and she still can't get past that to move ahead on. And so that's basically about letting go of things and moving forward. So it's a positive message, I think, overall.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. What else would you like to share about this record? I mean, I've been telling people how great it is. You know, just everything about it. I just like the way everything's put together. The sound quality is real good, because sometimes modern recordings, they don't have enough space in them or something. There's just something musically that it just doesn't. Well, you know, yeah, and this doesn't sound like that. This sounds so good.
Well, you know what, mastering is really important, and a lot of people don't know that. I tried 5 different people to master it, and I ended up going with a company called Lursen, and the guy that did my album did Bruno Mars. And it's really important, because your record can completely change with a mastering lab. Like, it gets squashed, over compressed, or they record it too hot and it's too distorted. That's part of why. And also taking a lot of care in placement and production, and where things lie, to give things space when they need to have space, so that you don't get you know, things get lost too much, you know, that way. I actually, you know, and I'm a bass player, so one of the things that I wanted to do on this record is kind of feature the bass as a melodic instrument. So there's a few more so than a reinforcement instrument, and there's a couple songs where I'm playing fretless as a melodic instrument between like a chorus and a verse, instead of like a guitar solo taking to the next thing. It's a fretless bass part that takes you to the next part, which in Giving Up the Ghost is a good example of that. There's a song called Time Waits for No One that during the chorus, I'm playing a melody on fretless bass, which is doubled by a piano. And I'm also playing bass, another bass, or fretted 4-string bass, playing descending chords and notes. And that's just the melodic instrument to be added in. There's a couple songs where I actually have 3 basses playing, which
wow.
Yeah, there's the 8-string bass holding down, and yeah, it's pretty, you know, if you dissect the songs, there's a lot going on. And I think people will find it's a really great headphone album. You know, so.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, man.
And as far as bass, you've probably answered this a million times with your storied career, but who are some of your bass player influences?
Well, yeah, actually that question had just come up, and I was thinking about it, and interestingly enough, they all start with the letter J. In my beginning, Jack Bruce, and there's a great Jack Bruce story. John Paul Jones, John Entwistle, James Jamerson, the Motown stuff is when I was a kid, started out. Jaco Pastorius, and one of my favorite jazz fusion guys, Jeff Berlin. And then, of course, everybody goes, what about Paul McCartney? Well, his real name is James Paul
That's
McCartney.
True. That's true.
J, right?
Right.
So those are the main ones. And with Jack Bruce, I went and got a bass like his when I was asked to join a band. And the first song I ever learned was Sunshine in Your Love. So cut to, I'm on tour with Vanilla Fudge, and the opening band's bass player just inherited $250 million he a little bit ago, but he had started a memorabilia collection of instruments, and he invited me over to his house at the end of the tour, and I went into the room, and he had like Jimmy Page's Vox amps, Timmy Bogart's bass, but he had the bass that Jack Bruce cut the first song I ever learned. He had that Gibson EB3 bass he had bought.
Oh, EB3. I was asking, was it a jazz bass? But
no, it's a Gibson EB3, and it's the same bass as the first song I ever learned. So I got to play the bass of the first song I ever learned.
That is so cool.
It's kind of crazy, right?
that's very crazy. And did you say you were playing with Vanilla Fudge at the time?
Yeah. Carmine was going to Europe and asked me to fill in for Tim.
Okay, I don't think I knew that you had done that.
Yeah, I did. I also did an album that I'm on half. Tony Franklin's on half. It's called Bazooka. It's with Pat Travers.
Oh, that came out, yeah, like 2005, 6.
And I finally got to do, speaking of Cream, I finally got to cover a Cream song, which was Politician. And that song kicks ass. And the bass is mixed just amazing by Pat Regan, who's a good friend of mine who I've done a lot of records with. And people should check that album out. It's called Bazooka with Pat Travers, Carmine Appice, and it's killer.
Well, now that you bring it up, I am going to have to include that. I do a music episode once a week. Every Saturday, I do a new music episode, and mainly to feature new stuff. But I do like to go back to some stuff from the past as well.
Well, that's topical. Politician.
I have that album, and I don't think I've played it, so I'm going to pull that out.
Check it out.
I'm going to pull that out this Saturday. That's so cool. Because Vanilla Fudge too. I just got They just did a new record, Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah.
You weren't part of that, were you?
No.
No.
That was a while ago. I did that quite a while ago.
Gotcha.
Mid '90s, or I'd have to backtrack to figure it out. But over the years, you do a lot. Always doing stuff. So. Well,
you have so many credits. I mean, do you even have any idea how many records you've played on? Because you are on a lot.
Not as many as Lee Sklar, who's at like 5,000. But you know what I mean? I don't know, probably somewhere over 100 or whatever. But yeah. I've done 7 film scores, I think. But the thing is with a lot of the records, it was a band thing, like Quiet Riot or House of Lords or Jafria. It was a band thing, and I was writing. For them, and which when the pandemic hits, why I started composing again. I hadn't composed anything forever, and then I just started doing it again. Because I'm so busy running Ultimate Jam Night every week or being on the road every weekend with Quiet Riot. I just never had time for myself to sit down and record. So that's how the album came about. Like I said, it's just a collection of music that I just wanted to do, that I just played. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of Quiet Riot, you did spend so much time with them. Sorry, I'm doing 2 things at once because Zoom made a change now. Here we go. I was getting some Zoom things that was going to ruin our interview, but I think we're okay.
26 years off and on.
So you were there so long, and now you've been gone for a little bit. You missing it?
Actually, at the point where Rudy came back at the end of the year, I was like, things had changed so much with Frankie not being there running business and all that. It turned out to be, like they say, when one door closes, another one opens.
Right.
It turned out to be a great thing for me, because besides the solo record efforts and all that I wanted to concentrate on and do, I got a call the very next day from my friend Terry Luce, who's was a singer in Great White for 12 years.
Oh, and XYZ as well.
Yeah, and XYZ. He has a thing. It's called Legends of Classic Rock, and he asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. And because of that, this past summer I've been in Europe, like the Greek islands and Capri and Barcelona, Spain, France, all over the place. Because what they do is they play on the newest, largest ship in the Royal Caribbean fleet, and we do songs from our own repertoire, and we do some classic tunes that we really love or that we're associated with. Everything that we do, we're associated with somehow. Everybody in the band. The drummer was Greg D'Angelo from White Lion.
Oh, from White Lion, yeah.
And the keyboard player played with Ozzy, and the version with Zach. And our newest guitar player who joined us this year, not this year, but just a few months ago, Jason Boylston played with Paul Rogers and Bad Company. And so it's a really great time. It's a really, I can't even tell you how fun it is just to be able to, is that me? Uh-oh, sorry.
That's you, my friend.
I thought I had my phone off. Anyway, so you never know. It's a blessing. It happened, and it's great. And it's part of my history. It's there. I'm very blessed that I was part of a record that changed the fabric of the music world at the time, because before Come On Feel the Noise came out, the music scene was all about new wave music, bands like the Knack, the Motels, that kind of thing. Come On Feel the Noise just blew the doors open for all of the hard rock bands, and the label started signing everybody that had a lot of hair and played hard rock, pretty much.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of changed, you know. I feel very, you know, very lucky and happy. It's a double-edged sword, of course, but just to be a part of that. And you know, I sing on every track, and I'm on Bang Your Head and Don't Want to Let You Go. I'm playing bass on those 2 tracks. And then I later joined them after I was in Jafria. I joined them for the QR3 album, which I'm a writer on every song on.
QR3 was Paul Shortino on that one?
No, that's still Kevin. Paul came in after that
Kevin.
when I left to do House of Lords.
Gotcha.
When Kevin left, I kind of left after that, and then I did Impelatory with Graham Bonnet, and then I did. Then I put House of Lords together with Great Jafria.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, you know, as the years go by, the timelines get a little fuzzy in my mind.
You know what? For me too. I mean, I go, wait a minute. You know, and I have to go back and double check Wikipedia or whatever, just to see what's going on. And even they're not right all the time, because just random people do that stuff.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, I guess we've covered it. Like I said, you know, you mentioned all the people on this record, 39 listings that I have just here alone.
I've retallied. I think there's 41.
And I'm sure there's more, because I think even in your liner notes, you see it keeps growing. Actually, speaking of timelines, because even in your liner notes, you got like 36 here. There's like 30 died here, and now it's even more. Right? It's amazing.
Well, it's
how you were able.
Like I said, hard to keep track. The way I go back to the actual recording tracks, I go, oh yeah, that's right. He played percussion, you know, or whatever.
Right.
Different things. I'm just blessed to have so many great friends that are so talented, that believed in the music that I was creating, to want to jump on board and be a part of it.
Right.
So blessed in that regard, and so far 100% of the reviews have been super positive.
Excellent.
A couple people said it's their pick of the album of the year for them, and they listen to it all the time. And it's just been very, very rewarding, and you know, I couldn't be happier about the response once people hear it. The hard part is getting people to hear it,
right?
Because there's 60,000 songs a day released on Spotify, you know, so it's like getting people's attention is hard, and I appreciate your help with that.
Yeah, no, believe me, I get that, and I you know, folks, I just can't say, if I can ever figure out the camera thing, I just cannot say enough good things about this record. You got to check it out, and I know for sure it's easy to get, because we got record stores, of course, for all my Chicago friends, but I know it's on Amazon, because that's where I pre-ordered from.
When I tell, exactly. When I'm telling people about it, I'll say, you know what, the easiest thing, go to Amazon. In fact, I've gone to Amazon and sent it to people that way, because it's easier for me than trying to get a piece and then go mail it. But I'll just like send it to them. You know, like a few of the musicians that are nowhere near where I live, I made sure I got them the actual hard product. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because, you know, us old guys, we still like the physical, but
the package is killer too, because
it's great. Yeah.
Glenn Wexler, who people might know from Van Halen, Yes, Rush, bunch of different, you know, he's like one of the top guys in the business. And yeah.
I love it. You got all the credits.
Find out who everybody is.
Yeah, and then too, I know I saw in here, which I thought was kind of cool, that you know, you put all the lyrics up at your website too.
Yes, I do.
Here, so that's kind of neat too.
Problem with the website.
yeah, folks. If you try to go to chuckwright.com right now, it might not work. But
I got to find out what's going on.
By the time this is out there, it'll be rectified, I'm sure. Or maybe it's just my computers. Maybe just my computers. I don't know. But anyway, so that's great. Yeah, it's great. I mean, just for folks that don't know, we mentioned some of the people, but beside Chuck, you got Eric Martin on here, and Pat Torpey, Trey Laquetta, Scotty Hill, just Scott Soto, Derek Sherinian, Tal Bergman, which is a drummer that I'm a big fan of.
He's great,
yeah. And my friend Keith England, I didn't realize he's on here too. So Keith England doing some background vocals, Ed Roth, Dave Schultz. I mean, the list just goes on, but just all quality players. So just knowing that these folks participate in the record should give you a pretty good idea of just how solid this album is. So that's what I have to say about that.
I appreciate that. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, you got it. Well, thanks for coming by. What's next for you?
Well, I'm actually going to be in Atlanta at the Innovation Amphitheater with Legends of Classic Rock next Friday, the 28th. And then we head out, hit the Caribbean again, St. Thomas and the islands out there in November. Then I'm going to Japan for 3 weeks. My girlfriend's from Japan, and we're going to go out there for a little vacation. And then we'll see. You know, I've got an Ultimate Jam Night on December 6th, and we're covering guitar heroes. So, you know, Eddie Van Halen, Jimmy Page, Slash, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
They're going to be at the Whiskey?
Yeah, it's at the Whiskey. It's a free show, and
I might stop by there.
There'll probably be 50 musicians there.
Nice.
Total. And yeah, anytime you want to come down, just let me know, and I'll get you a table. I'll take care of it. But that's next. I was doing it every other week when we started this year, but because of my schedule now with Legends of Classic Rock, I've been out of the country a lot, and I need to be here to organize it and kind of put it together, make sure it runs smooth. So,
right.
You know, Paulie Z was doing it for me for a while, but he's not doing it any longer. So,
gotcha.
So we have the one more, December 6th, and then we'll start back up in January.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's cool. You're a busy guy. And unfortunately, this won't be able to hit the stage, will it?
You know what? I've been asked that every interview.
I'm sure you have.
You're gonna be playing. You know what? To be able to pull off that record live the way I would envision it, I need Roger Waters' budget. Really.
Yeah.
It's got to be an immersive thing. It's got and so many musicians, you know,
right,
to cover. And you know, and I don't want to have a bunch of tracks going on.
Right.
It would be very difficult to play that album in its entirety. You know, there might be other. I don't know. I haven't gone to think further beyond trying to do that, but yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
I would love to do it, but we need a lot of coin to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, Chuck Wright's Sheltering Sky. Please get it. It's on Cleopatra Records, but as you heard us talking, you can easily get it on Amazon. And for you guys in the Chicago area, I know Rolling Stones Records has this. So make sure you check it out. It's a great record. And Chuck, thank you and much continued success. And I hope we hear that this won the Grammy.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be something? Hey, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it. All right.
You bet. Thank you.
Cheers.